Good evening. Welcome to UpWardly Mogul. I'm your host, Pennye Rogers, and I have a wonderful interview coming up with Dr. Cassan. What we're doing, this is a new segment that we're bringing on board for WCEG. And Dr. Wanzo, I've already interviewed a couple of our show hosts, and you will be my third one, I think. So what we're going to do tonight, we're going to start UpWardly Mogul with interviewing the show host of WCEG to let our audience know who they are, who's behind the microphone, what they do, what they like, what they don't like. But our questions are going to be kind of based on the individual, what makes them tick, and how do they know this is what they wanted to do. So we'll get this segment underway, and I want to thank the wonderful producer and also the wonderful engineer, Mr. Oliver. He doesn't like me to call his name, but thank you so much for influencing and helping me to make my mind to get back on the air again. I've been behind the scenes producing shows, and it's my time to come back behind the mic, but I want to bring you some awesome people that help make WCEG Network, the new WCEG Network, what it is. So my first question to you, Dr. Wanzo, say hello to our audience.
Hey.
Hi, and we just want to find out who you are and just what make you who you are. So the first question is, what is your specialty? What area or sector are you in business?
I am a general adult psychiatrist, which means I work with people age 18 and above. So I work with them with issues from depression, anxiety. I'm also director of substance abuse clinics. We work with people who are addicted to pain pills and heroin. And I'm also director of something called Georgia Rehabilitation Outreach, which is an ACT team, which stands for Assertive Community Treatment. I guess that's one of the things I'm most passionate about, because we help people who are called like the hard to reach, who normally wouldn't come to a mental health clinic, who've often been homeless. And we find housing for them. We help them with vocational needs. We help them with things like hygiene, social skills. So what's different about our clinic is that our staff, the case managers, go to where they live. They see each client 3 times a week where they live and help them with the various skills. They come into the office once a month to see me, and I prescribe the meds and regulate it. But then once a month, myself and the nurse, we go out and see them in their homes. I get a chance to see them in their environment. It's very active. I love doing this.
So doctors do make house calls,
yes,
huh?
I do that. Yes, I love it.
Wonderful. I love that. I love that. Thank you. So how did you know that this was what you wanted to do, or how did you know?
Well, growing up, my father was a minister, and he helped people, and I know I wanted to help people. That's all I knew, is I wanted to help people like my father. He was like my biggest role model, so he helped people, and I wanted to help people. I knew that. I didn't know. At one point, I was going to help by being a nurse, and another thing was a pediatrician, and then I decided in psychiatry, and I know this is for me because when people ask me things like, well, when are you going to retire? I can't imagine not doing this. I don't want to retire. I want to do this.
We don't need you
forever.
to retire.
I never want to retire. I love this. I don't want to retire.
Wonderful.
Can't see myself retiring, really.
Well, believe it or not, you've been my therapist for the last, 20-something years that I've been knowing you, and especially since we've come into the studio, too, and just listening at the way that you bring the shows, the topics, and based on society and what's happening in our community, you have really helped more people than you really wouldn't even believe.
I can't see myself doing anything else.
Wow.
Nothing else.
Well, what made you leap? What made you jump? What made you take that plunge into psychiatry? I know you wanted to help, but what was the deciding factor?
Well, when I went to medical school, and the first 2 years are called the basic sciences, and you are doing the gross anatomy and all the the sciences. The last 2 years are the clinical years, so you rotate through every specialty in medicine, surgery. So we did 8 weeks of surgery, dermatology, psychiatry. When I did my psychiatry rotation, that was it. I knew I was sealed. There's nothing else I wanted to do. I loved it. It was the thing that clicked with me. The thing I hated the most was surgery. I hated surgery more than anything else. We had to get up at 5 in the morning and be in the operating room by 6. You had to scrub. It was just horrible. I hated surgery. In fact, the first time that they made a decision, like I dizzy and almost passed out. The sight of the
So
blood,
that let you know you didn't want to be a surgeon,
Yeah, I mean,
huh?
I literally almost passed out when I saw them making an incision and then the blood and all that. I just really
Wow.
almost passed out, literally.
Well, when did you take the leap? When did you?
Well, actually, so you're in medical school. So like in those 2 years, you go through every rotation. And then I knew that when I did the psychiatry rotation, that's what I wanted to do. So what you do then after medical school is when you specialize. So I did like a regular medical internship and then 3 years of psychiatry afterwards. So I knew when I was in medical school, and I did psychiatry rotation, that's what I wanted to do.
Wow. So who was your biggest influence? I heard you mention your father.
My father. I have to say my father. Actually, my parents all together, but I think my father, more so than anything, because like I said, he was a pastor and he was like an humble person. I mean, he was just a wonderful, wonderful person. So I really.
And that's good when you can find when your parents or people that are in your family or loved ones that are your role models.
Let me tell you, my father, he instilled a love of books and learning. Before I could even walk, or when I was 3 years old, he used to take me and my sister in a little red wagon to the library. And we had library cards when we were like 3 years old.
Oh, wow.
And the interesting thing is, before I went to school, I could read. I read before I went to school. I mean, I read all kinds of books and whatever, because we had library cards. And this is a funny story. I remember we had this babysitter. This is before I even had gone to school. I was maybe 4. And this is what, I mean, actually, and looking back, it was exploitation. But this woman, our babysitter, she used to take me around to different homes and have me read.
Oh.
I'm like 3, 4 years old, 4, maybe reading books. And I remember some guy saying, that girl's not reading. I'd be reading things, and she would charge them to see me read. I was like a freak.
Oh my God!
She would take me to different.
Did you get your commission? I mean, did she get your?
I mean, right?
But
she would take me to different homes and charge people to see me read.
Oh my God! Because they just couldn't believe a little girl.
Read, yeah. And she would take me to different homes.
What type of books? If you
I don't know. What they had me reading passages from different books. And she would charge them money. I remember they paid her money.
Did your parents know this?
No, they never knew that.
Oh my God! So she was, and I had that entrepreneur spirit,
right?
And so you've been doing this, okay?
Right, yeah,
wow, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So outside of your parents, anyone that's in your field that was an influence on your life, or into the industry or the sector that you're in?
Well, like when I was in medical school, we never had an African-American professor, so I never had an African-American professor throughout medical school. In fact, it was a very hostile environment. It was very hostile. I mean, in my class, out of 160, there were 3 African-Americans, 1 African-American male, me, and another African-American female. And I remember we would always sit together, and they would like make us move. We couldn't sit together during exams because they thought we would cheat. They would call me her name and call me her, they would get us confused.
Like y'all look alike, huh? Okay,
they made comments like, you black girls may think you're cute, but you're not going to graduate from this medical school. So I never really had like a role model, but I guess maybe until the first time I had anybody in the field of color was when I was doing my residency at St. Vincent's. And there was a woman, even though she had like a PhD, I saw her as a mentor because she was an African-American woman who had made it. She was the only person of color like in that hospital.
Wow.
In the field. Even though she was a PhD, I consider her, a mentor because she, helped me and to guide me. And the term that she kept using, that she was teaching me how to navigate the system. So, she taught me how to navigate
so during
the
what
system.
time frame?
This
What era
during my
was
residency in psychiatry in New York from 1979 to 1982.
Okay.
And she was like a supervisor, and so I consider her because she said she's going to teach me how to navigate the system, and that's what her goal was, to teach me how to navigate the system. And it was Dr. Julia Mayo. She passed last year.
Wow.
She had a PhD, but she was my role model. Even though she wasn't a psychiatrist, she was still had a PhD in psychology. So
okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Doc, for that, Dr. Wenzel, for that. So, what stands out most in your career for you? What stands out the most?
Really helping people and seeing people make changes. Like, for instance, in this clinic where I'm now, Grove, the assertive community treatment. Like I said, these are people who've not been able to make it in other clinics. So it's called assertive community treatment. Like I said, the staff going out to where they are, just to see the progress that some of them make where they do so well that they're able to complete the program and go on and live independent lives. Like, we have one guy now who I'm sure is going to graduate, and we came in, he was psychotic, couldn't function. And now he has a job where he works 5 days a week. He has his own car.
Oh, wonderful.
And all of that. So he's going to be graduating. He's come a long way just to see you know,
the growth.
right? Because
and
some people
just-
think, oh, they're hopeless, it's chronic, they're never
Right,
going to
they
get
write 'em
better.
off. They write 'em off.
But just to see how this young man, to
Ooh.
the point he's driving, he's got a job 5 days a week, drives his own car. I mean, it's just amazing to see where he came from.
And that, like we were saying earlier, that where there's life, there is hope.
Yes,
You know,
yeah,
you
just to
can't
see the
always
change.
let your circumstances or people write you off or make you think that you cannot do something. And that's awesome. That's awesome right there. How have you sustained in this field? How have you sustained?
Like I said, because I love it. I absolutely love it. I mean, it's my passion.
Okay.
It's my passion. But I can, I do admit that it can be emotionally draining at times. So I have to make sure that I take time for myself. So what I do is I go on trips, vacations.
You are an
That's what
avid
I do.
traveler.
I love to
I can
travel.
say, I can vouch for that.
Right. So I travel. I also love the theater. And not a lot of people know, but I started out as a theater major.
Right. I remember you
Right,
shared
at
that
Northwestern
before.
because of the theater school. And so while I'm not doing that as an occupation, I'm still very much interested in theater. So I've subscribed to the Lions Theater, True Colors.
Okay.
And so I go to see the plays. I go to New York a few times a year to see
Yes,
plays
you
in
do.
New York.
Okay.
So between traveling and plays, those are the two things I love the most.
I know you like the opera too as well.
Oh, yeah, the opera too.
Yes.
Opera, theater. Yes, I do.
Okay.
I do.
So that's what you do to keep your sanity,
Exactly.
so to speak.
Yes.
Okay. What would you say to your younger self? What would you tell your younger self?
Don't discriminate in relationships based on race, because that's something I did growing up. I had a number of people of other races who wanted to date me, and I didn't date them because they were
Of another race. Okay.
I would I would tell myself not to be so closed.
Okay. Have a little diversity,
Yes,
in your love
yes,
life. Okay.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. What's on the horizon for you?
Wow. I guess I don't see myself retiring, because people say, "Oh, when are you going to retire?" I can't see myself retiring, and I just can't imagine not doing this. Just continuing doing what I'm doing.
Okay. Okay. If you had or could, what would you do differently, or would you do anything differently at all?
In my life,
With your life, your career, just anything, what would you do differently?
like I said, well, not closing myself off to relationships based on race, because I was judging people based on race.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
If they were a certain race, I wouldn't give them the time of day, even though they persisted and wanted to take me out. I said no, because they were of a certain race. So I wouldn't be closed. I would be more open. I would definitely be
Okay.
open. Yeah.
For someone that's listening in, if they're like, sometimes we go through midlife crises, or maybe you have a young person that don't know what they want to do. What are some pearls of wisdom that you would share with another young mother or young entrepreneur? What pearls of wisdom would you share with them?
Well, you have to really, I think it's important to know yourself.
Okay.
Because oftentimes you're directed to careers based on the expectations of others, your parents, school, society. You can't go by that. You have to know inside of you what you want to do and what works, best for you. Okay. I have to admit, my ex, even though he went to medical school and he was a straight A student, deep inside, because that's what his family wanted him to do, but deep inside he wanted to be an artist. So I just said, follow what's inside of you, and I think that led to his early demise.
Wow.
Not,
living other people's expectations and dreams.
Right. So know what you love and what you enjoy, and follow that.
Okay.
Not trying to get, follow the passions and dreams of others. You got to do what you want. Because I know a lot of parents will try to direct their children to do this occupation or that occupation. You can't do that. I even went through that with my son, trying to direct him to do a certain thing where all he wanted to do was teach, and I was trying to, get him to do other things.
To do other things.
Yeah, because I'm saying, because at the time he was going to NYU, which is very expensive. I said, well, you don't want to go to NYU and pay all this money and then be a teacher.
Well, okay. Yeah, I've known several young people went to school to do one thing, or either their parents were trying to live their dreams through them.
Yes.
And when they got into all that debt, finished their class, graduated, they end up going in a total different direction.
Yes.
And people think that they were crazy, but
Right.
if you have that, if you, whatever your passion is, if you had to do this job and not get paid for it, you could do, and by helping people, I like that. I like that. One of my last questions, getting down to the end. What legacy are you leaving, or what legacy do you want to leave?
Wow. Of giving. I guess my parents left me that legacy.
Okay.
As far back as I can remember. I remember, again, because I know this certain house, I only lived there till I was 4 years old, so I had to be around that age range. And I don't know where this family came from, but we were going to go visit this family, and my mother wanted me to select one of my Christmas presents, even though I didn't understand it at the time, but I had to take one of my Christmas presents because we're going to visit this family who,
didn't
right, and I had to give them one of
Okay.
my Christmas presents. I was 4 years old. I mean, it was tough, but
What did you give?
I think it was a doll or something. I think it was a
Okay,
doll, but it was
okay.
something that I really wanted that I had to give to someone else. And I guess while I felt bad, but I look back, I just realized that they were helping us to learn how to give to others,
and to
right?
share.
Yeah, to share, to
And
give, and I learned,
okay.
yeah, and that's how they were throughout their whole lives.
That's good because
So,
it helps us now even and I guess it carries on in adulthood because you are a giver. You share and
Yeah.
it's just part of your nature. And so and I think too that when we have those type of upbringings and those values that are instilled in us, it really makes us who we are today. So I can say I can see where your parents' influence in your life really paid off for you now. And I do thank you. Just even I know that our paths did not cross by accident.
Exactly.
And some of the things and people that we have a common bond with or sharing and traveling together and doing things together and just even with what you helped us to do through our church ministry and working with the children in Africa and some of those other things that we've done to educate a child in other countries and just the diversity that we've shared over the years. And I just feel
I want to thank you for being a blessing in my life.
well, thank you.
Yes.
I'm thanking you for being a
Well,
blessing
you're
in my life because
blessing in my
you've
life,
been
yes.
my psychiatrist longer than you think you have. Okay. But Paul and I tease about that and joke about it, but we are serious because it's just some of those times that when we're at our wits' end too, we come into the studio and topics that we talk about and discuss, and through some of the current events and current situations that take place in society, we address those, and it helps to open my mind in another dimension that I may not have thought about, or just bringing things to the table, those taboo subjects that people don't like to talk about. So with you doing that and availing yourself, community service, you're doing a community service here, but it's on a worldwide basis because I found out that across the board, no matter where you are in the world, the topics that we discuss, the mental wellness, the mental illness, that is common across the board, no matter what race, color, creed that you are. So thank you again, Dr. Wanzo. That will conclude our brief interview for today, but we will come back to the table again after a period of time. But I want to thank you for being one of my special guests on Upwardly Mogul, a show that we are going to bring back to the airwaves, and we will not only be on the internet and on live streaming, but we are filming. We are also going to be going to FM radio around the first of the year. So I would just want to thank you for being a part of the family, WCEG Network family. And thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to leave with our audience before we go?
I want to thank you and for each and every person out there to know that you are loved.
Yes. And thank you so much. And we have an array of people that have tuned in: Daniel, Rick, Melvin, Norman, Greg, Alethea, Carol, Albert, Michael. People have just been, I guess, enjoying this wonderful segment. But this is something that we're going to bring back to the airwaves, and I'm going to still be producing, but I'm going to start coming back behind the air because I do want to highlight some of the wonderful people that come into the studio, and especially our show hosts, because if it wasn't for you and the other show hosts, WCEG Network wouldn't be what it is today. And I want to thank you again.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Happy
you
New
too.
Year. And I'm looking forward to our book club coming up, and maybe there'll be
Yes.
another book maybe that we can bring on board. But I think that Michelle Obama becoming may take a show or two for us to get
Exactly.
through. So
Yes, I think so.
we're going to probably do more than one show, but
Yeah.
stay tuned. But you all have a wonderful holiday season, and remember that take the focus off yourself, help someone else that needs the help, and just you as a child and your parents having you to give away a toy that you really needed. It set the tone for where
Right.
you are today because you are a giver, and I love you for that. Thank you, my sister.
You.
You have a wonderful holiday, and Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night. No, I knew you would love it, dog. It wasn't going to be so bad.